well might be, but.
If there's a
Will
fire
vary,
or something
yeah.
like that in your area, you get notification, like, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
But-
And I'm assuming we're protecting ourselves in this insurance-wise, or,
At least with an indemnity, that's part of the agreement the town attorney's office would look at and recommend approval for.
Well, what this is doing is allowing our police department to access the portal to communicate with the people who have the app and are using it.
Right.
I mean, that's my understanding of,
The police
yeah.
department's doing it outbound or inbound information? Meaning, is it inbound saying, if
It
somebody's,
looks like both.
Yeah,
oh, it's both?
yeah.
If you read the
It's
last,
allowing our police department to participate in the platform, which could have certain advantages.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very good. We'll move on to item
is there an
E.
expiration on that? Do we have to keep on to review this? I mean,
We can set it, usually it's about a 2-year period of time. We can make it longer or shorter. But usually there's an opt-out provision within 90 days, and either party can opt out.
Well, it'll be subject to a form approved by your office.
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Then we'll go on to item F, which is the intermunicipal agreement with the animal shelter for the county of Rockland. As you know, we participated last year. We're in the midst of this year, and the county is now asking all the towns to sign the agreement. We would be paying a total of $75,217.50 for our participation. Any questions at this point? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve.
On the question, what was the amount we paid last year to be in?
It was the same amount.
Are the services any less or more than it was for last year as far as what we're providing to ITOR?
It's substantially the same that we received last year. I know we've discussed the option of going into a different arrangement, either with other municipalities or on our own. We're now in July.
Right.
It's probably, in my opinion, we're best just concluding this for this year, and we could explore options for next year. We should start looking at that soon.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Moved.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded. Councilman Rossman, discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any, you vote no. Any, any opposed? Councilman Wanunu? So 4-1, carried 4-1. Oh, yeah. Just, Mr. Rossman pointed out a typo in the resolution. The term should be December 31st, 2019. It's a typo, 20189, which is a very long term, long way away.
none of us will be
We're
here.
not
No, we
being
won't have to
here.
worry about it.
The dogs will
The
still be
dogs were
here.
ruling the earth at that time.
That's a great price for that time term.
Yeah, really, we're locking in, a good deal.
Oh, you know what, we should have left it there.
Yeah,
Been
yeah.
okay.
We'll go on now to item G, which is the hold harmless agreement, Cole Arena LLC for 25 Herrick Avenue.
I'm happy to comment on that if
Are
you'd
you
like.
familiar with this item? Could you
Yeah,
comment?
this is a matter that there's an already built 6-unit condominium. There is a de minimis, a small encroachment with regard to a drainage easement with the HVAC and also with the deck. There's also a minor encroachment on a right-of-way. What the town attorney's office is recommending is that an indemnity agreement be entered into, which the owner of the property would indemnify the town for all matters that deal with these few issues, and that would allow the approval for the certificate of occupancy for those uses. We would recommend that.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Any questions for Mr. Lynch?
The resolution says Herrick Drive.
Mr. Lynch, this easement, this is a pre-existing easement, this was the easement that was created for the development. What is this easement?
It's a pre-existing easement. I think when the construction took place, we understand that inadvertently the encroachment took place.
But I don't understand. I'm looking at this survey. It looks like this easement was created for this job, and I'm wondering what it was created for.
I don't know what the
Okay.
details are, except I see the same
Right.
survey you do,
Typo.
council member. We are just simply asking that when anything happens, we want to make sure the town is protected. The alternative would be to having this particular building reconstructed in some manner. We don't believe that would be in the town's interest, and
So honestly speaking, as far as the easement's concerned, I don't understand why this easement's here to begin with. I don't know why we're getting involved with these easements. I don't have an issue with the easement on the right-of-way. I'm a little concerned. I'm assuming these are condominium units. They're going to be sold to individuals. And if we ever want to do any sidewalk work or do anything in the right-of-way, and we rip out the curbing of the driveway, who's going to put it back? Who's going to provide parking? What's protecting the end user? I'm just,
well, those are all very valid questions. If you want, we can follow up and find out more details. And again, nothing we're doing would create any condition. It was simply just to protect the town, but certainly those questions can be followed up on.
I think, yeah, I think the concern is that what happens 5 or 10 years from now if we need to do work in one of the right-of-ways?
I can answer. Normally, what happens, the indemnity agreement says that in the event it has to be opened up for any reason, that the owner of the property is responsible for all costs and expenses with regard to that matter. That's a normal condition of any indemnity agreement. But again, it's totally a board decision. It's not a,
So Councilman Weissman's question, if I understood him correctly, the fact that these are now being sold, you're getting this indemnity from the developer. This is going to follow through to the new
it would
owner?
run with the land. It would be a covenant that runs with the land,
it
basically.
would run with the land. I'm not concerned. I'm more concerned about being in a position where we're trying to add a lane to Herrick or make wider sidewalks. These are all things that could potentially happen with the development and growth of that particular area. And I would like to see at the minimum some type of language or disclaimer or protection for the town where the purchasers are at least notified and put on notice that this is out there. Not just hold harmless buried in a file in the building department.
Would this be something that could or should be filed with the county clerk, Mr. Lynch? that
Well,
put a-
not only that, Supervisor, but also maybe something we require be filed as an amendment to the condominium plan to place everybody on notice that it would be part of any type of a disclosure. But those are, again, those are items which we can put into an agreement to make sure it's, as you indicated wisely, filed with the clerk for public notice, and B, more importantly, perhaps even required to be filed as an amendment or a supplement with the AG.
That's fine. Okay.
I would have to agree with Councilman Weissman doing
I don't think it's
more
necessary.
language in here.
I don't think it's necessary to have it go as far as the AG, but perhaps we could just require that they put it as part of the deed.
Right, then it would be
Yeah.
found by anybody.
I think the people who are going to purchase need to understand clearly what their responsibility is in this, because if they don't, that this is kind of gray. There's nothing specific to protect them or to protect the other side. We'll be protected, but will the homeowners, have they been purchased already, or they're going to be purchased?
I do not believe they have, because there's not all final approvals. That's why they want this. But you, again, Deputy Supervisor, raised an excellent point. And the comment about having it in the deed, I mean, we could insist upon that also. And we could also insist that it be on file with the town clerk, and if need be, filed with the AG, although I understand Councilman's comment that may not be necessary.
No, I think
it's
we
gonna
would,
unnecessarily delay. It's my understanding this has been going on for a while, and
I don't think we want to hold up
No.
the owner at this point, but I think we want to give notice. So I think I would agree. I don't think we need to have it filed with the AG, but certainly if it's filed as part of the deed with the county clerk, it would serve that purpose of providing notice to any.
I just want at the closing that the purchaser understands. that
Right,
Right.
that there is a right-of-way and there is a hold harmless in favor of the town.
We can unequivocally put the deed requirement in the town clerk filing in any agreement.
Very good.
think that protects the buyer and it's full disclosure and it works.
So I would just ask the proposed resolution include that, as well as, I believe Mr. Romanowski was correct, that there is an error that is Herrick Avenue, not Herrick Drive. So we would correct that. If that is, in fact, the right address. Very good. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a motion. Motion? Motion, Councilman Wanunu. Seconded, Councilman Weissmandel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0. We'll go on to item 5H, acceptance of an agreement from Valuation Plus.
If I may, Mr. Supervisor, board members, there's property located on Vincent Road, and there's consideration of having a Thomas Klein purchase at least portions of that particular property. Before the town could even consider entering into an agreement, we have to establish fair market value. So for those two separate parcels, and the dimensions are set forth in a proposed resolution, the total cost would be $2,750. Town Attorney's Office recommends that the hiring be approved by the board. The supervisor authorized to sign, subject to our review of any agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Any questions? If not,
Do
I'll...
we add this cost then to the property value?
We certainly can.
Okay, I think we should do that.
I would appreciate, Mr. Supervisor, when we receive items like this, that at the least we receive vicinity maps. I know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think we should ask for that for future items.
At this point, we're just going for an appraisal.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, we're not selling it at this point. That would be,
But I would appreciate if somebody can follow up and circulate to the board vicinity map so that we understand.
I'll move it.
very good. Motion by Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded. Councilman Rossman, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0. Go to item I, Legal Services, Lewis and Greer, PC.
Mr. Supervisor, board members, at certain times, there's a need to have outside counsel assist with regard to certain matters. In this particular case, Lewis and Greer are proposing at $195 an hour to assist with tax assessments, administrative proceedings such as SCARs and Article 7 proceedings. It would be only as and if needed. The total fee would not exceed $25,000. And again, subject to need, we're recommending that the town board authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with that particular law firm for that particular purpose, and the agreement can be terminated on 30 days' notice.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Any questions?
Why are we doing
Which
this?
program? For what?
5-1. This-
No, I
yeah.
got that. For
Yeah.
which, what are they representing us for?
Well,
Tax
on it-
assessment
Yeah,
matters.
specific tax matters, selected tax matters. Right now, I think every single tax matter is handled by the town attorney's office, but there are times when outside counsel would assist and make a more expeditious resolution.
Why do I recall us doing something similar to this before?
I think there was an initial discussion about it. I
that
don't
what
think
it
the
was?
price was
We didn't have a
confirmed.
proposal, or,
And our outstanding chief of staff has, again, negotiated the best price around.
and I think our assessor is recommending this as well.
Yes.
Very good. Any questions? If not, further questions? If not, call for a motion. Motion, Councilman Rossman, seconded by, is there a second? Councilman Weissmandel. Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried 5-0. We're regarding of setting the public hearings. I believe Mr. Gailey is coming. Do we know if he's here yet or on the way?
He is here, but he's probably delayed, he's on his way, so we can move forward, or
Well,
we can hold off a little bit.
Well, we have other items of the agenda. We could circle back to
Right.
it and give him a little bit more time. We'll go now to finance. We have discussion, distribution, and completion of the 2016 audited financial statements. Ms. Montal, I know Mr. Lynch is on other business at the moment, so you've been deputized to provide this. Thank you.
I will answer questions in the statement for you
Very good.
briefly.
I would just like to first state that I'd like to express my appreciation to our current auditors, BST, for getting this completed within the approximate timeframe that they had promised.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Yes, they've been outstanding, and we do thank them. We thank Mr. Lynch and his staff for working diligently in order to get this accomplished. I wanted to give you an update from Mr. Lynch that he prepared for me in reference to the basic financial filings for the town.
For the
two-
record, John Lynch.
John Lynch.
Let's get the right Lynch.
The 2000.
Different things, you know.
The 2015 annual update document, commonly referred to as the AUD, has been filed and accepted. The 2016 AUD is ready to be filed once these financials had been distributed. The 2017 field work for both the RLDC and the town of Ramapo have been completed. We should have drafts within the next few weeks, most likely by the end of July. The 2018 field work, Mr. Kennedy is going to be here this week, or was here this week, and we will schedule the field work we have scheduled the field work for 2018. It's anticipated that both the 2017 and 2018 audits will be finalized no later than September, as we promised previously in a public session. The AUDs for those years will be done concurrently. At that point in time, the town of Ramapo will be up to date with all its filings. In 2020, we will complete the 2019 audit and the 2019 AUD by May, which is what we are required to do. You have before you the Ramapo Local Development Corporation financial report and the Town of Ramapo financial report for December 31st, 2016, as well as the letters from the auditors. Yeah, none of you have seen this to the best of my knowledge yet. This is no longer in a draft form. This is for the board's comment. We will be posting this as we had committed to the public as soon as we have distributed it to the board members. And there's no surprise in there from what I can see. As we anticipated, the general fund was anticipated to come out about $11 million negative in the fund balance, most of which is owed interfund. That does not include the $3 million that you've paid back already. So in essence, you will see that the next year, it will reflect the numbers in a different manner. The $3 million won't be reflected until we have seen the 2019 audit, which won't be until 2020. And as the board has directed our staff, we will continue to make progress in reducing that deficit. If you have any questions that I'm capable of answering, I'm happy to do that.
Just, are we on schedule to have the 17 and 18 done before budget?
You'll have a draft of 17 and 18. Yes, you'll have the final, yeah, you will have your finals done while you'll be beginning the process of reviewing the budget. Budget packets will go out to your staff approximately the middle to the end of August. At that point, the process is that the supervisor meets independently of the board with the various department heads. He then presents a draft of what is called, we've previously called the supervisor's budget to the town board. Then second round of meetings take place with the town board members and the department heads. Then the board convenes in workshops to discuss the budget, and then after that, you will finally adopt the budget.
Thank you, Ms. Montal.
You're welcome.
Very good. Okay, if there's no further discussion on the 2016 audited financial statements, move on to item 7, Parks and Recreation. There's a discussion item regarding pool policies. If we could, I know Ms. Antosca's not here. I'm sorry?
We have to vote to accept.
No, we don't have to accept the budget. It's just.
No, you don't have to vote on
Right.
the
it's a
audit.
discussion. We've talked with Ms. Antosca. She's proposed a pool policy addition, if you'd like to elucidate the board.
Sure. So we've had some requests, both this year and in previous years, in reference to individuals that provide a service for the town of Ramapo in some way, are committed to the town of Ramapo, the East Ramapo School District, the Suffern Central School District, various entities, that we consider that the employees that apply to us be allowed to participate in our recreational facilities, specifically our pools, as if they were residents of the town. So I'd like to read to you what Ms. Antosca had written.
Before you read it, where would that, what is the, I don't understand the issue. We don't limit any of our facilities.
They can't purchase a pass that would allow them to come at a rate that would
Oh, it's a
be.
rate difference.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
the-
rate
the-
issue, right.
yeah.
We do not prohibit anybody from coming to our,
I know
any
that,
of our
that's why I was
facilities.
wondering what.
Right, no. That I wouldn't be able to answer it off the top of my head. But basically, you're saying that if you allow them to purchase this pass, it would be, they can buy a seasonal pass, not a daily pass. So if somebody is committed and works for the children of the town, works for the hospitals, works for certain public entities that we have approved in the past, we wanted to formalize that if we did it district-wide with both schools as an appreciation for serving the town's children, they can buy a seasonal pass. It's simply a nice gesture on behalf of this board, if you so choose to do it. I know that we've had at least 2 requests. It's not something that's going to cost us in the end. People probably wouldn't come if we didn't allow it. But they pay a larger amount and then to get the pass, and then a smaller fee. And Michelle recommends that if the board so desires, that we amend our policy and allow this to happen.
I would just like to know what the fee difference is, and B, who are we, who and why are we recommending this for? Teachers, what about nurses, what about doctors, what about emergency volunteers, what
So
about
the people who asked right
town
now,
employees? I mean, where are we gonna,
so town employees have asked, that's true. Most recently, we had a request from somebody who lived in the town, who works for the East Ramapo School District, whose family and friends continue to be here.
But moved out of the town recently.
And moved out of the town recently, and requested that we give due consideration to this. Michelle would not do it without the town board's authorization. If the town board wishes to wait till the end of the session here, I'll quickly run down and grab a brochure, and I can give you the accurate answers that you're looking for. And we're not talking about more than that I've ever heard us do in the past, 5 or 10 people. So if that's the board's pleasure, I'll come back. Now that I see Mr. Gailey is here, I'll step out for a
are
moment.
we acting on this, or is this just discussion?
It's, the only act is that the summer is going. It's just an informal. I don't even know that the board, I would ask the attorney if it's a fee, or it's a use of a fee, and it's exception to the written rule, which is you have to be a resident. I would guess there would have to be a resolution, which is simply to be that,
I would think of any facility that any change of fee or lack of.
you need a resolution.
Right, we just couldn't give.
Right, correct, which is why Michelle brought it to our attention. I believe the supervisor got a request as well.
That's right.
I believe the supervisor got a written
Yeah.
request.
I mean, but to Councilman Westmantel's point, I think we should probably, obviously, time is of the essence, because we don't want to get this done in October.
Right.
But I think identifying, for lack of a better word, the classes, like the officers, we have officers that don't.
So right now, you could simply say, if you'd like, because this is where the request came from, that the 2 school districts that are within the town of Ramapo, Suffern Central and East Ramapo, if any of their employees wish to buy an annual pass to the town of Ramapo pools, that we would allow that even if they live outside of the town. And I
Simple.
believe we do it now for
First responders.
first responders.
We do.
We definitely do that now, and I can tell you that this board, it was never brought before, because it's been the policy and the accepted policy of the town for years.
You know, hopefully, my partners here would agree. At a minimum, I think I would extend that to town employees, police department and, as well, like straight up the top. I don't know unless there's something
It's
else that
reasonable,
people-
yeah, yeah.
I'd like to know what we're talking.
Yeah, for sure, that's definitely.
So why don't we do this? As you pointed out, Mr. Gailey is here. We could do the items that we need him for, and if you could take the opportunity to get the Parks booklet, and we'll know what numbers we're talking about.
Okay, Mr. Gailey, in a minute.
Yeah, no, we could always.
Was there any other, I just wanted to address two of the public comments, if I may, about, so that the public is aware that we are working diligently on those lights on Maple Avenue. There was an issue with parts, the safety issue, I believe they're supposed to be addressing today or tomorrow. And certainly, in reference to Vincent, I believe the answer was given just now, and I forgot what the last comment was.
What answer was given for Vincent?
The answer was given to Vincent in that this was previously done. You just actually approved the survey to be done. Several years ago, you actually sold the piece of property, one piece of the property, previously. This was the second piece where the appraisal wasn't done, but actually the funding is sitting in our trust and agency account. So this was the way we would.
Personally, I don't know what we're talking about because I haven't seen the maps.
Well, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Previously, before a different board, all of the maps were there. I'll ensure that you get the maps in reference to this. Do you remember what the other public comment was? No. Okay, so if you do, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you
for
very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go back now to item G under public hearings, which is the SEQA declaration for the Northeast Strategic Plan, the acceptance of the draft scoping outline, and the setting of the date for the public scoping session. We have Mr. Ben Gailey, our land use attorney, present. I'll ask Mr. Gailey to explain to the board and the public what these items involve. Bless you. Wherever you're comfortable.
I want to pass these out. These are documents that were in your package, but just slightly revised. This is the resolution.
How many do you have?
I have 10, so if you can just pass them down. You want one? No?
I think you gotta open them up and take one.
These are all copies. I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Yeah, and then that little one package, yeah.
Chris, that's for you. Okay,
Now I understand.
there we go.
Okay.
You're putting us to work. You're putting us to work. Yeah,
Thank you.
okay,
So I'm drawing a line through
Okay.
this one.
yes, we're gonna give him one, yes.
Nice to meet you, by the way.
Percent.
Thank you.
Last one.
Thank you.
Pass it down. Yes, David. We haven't met either.
Brendel, nice to meet you.
Oh, I didn't realize you haven't met. I'm
No.
sorry.
Nice to put the name with the face.
There you go. Okay. Oh, there's more.
Oh, there's more.
Okay, so where should we be? What page is, which
Okay,
packet
well,
is
the
first?
main document is the resolution.
Okay,
There are 5 pieces.
yes. 2, 3, 4, 5. There's an extra.
Supervisor, for the public edification, Mr. Gailey is from Jacobitz and Gubitz, the firm that we hired in
For
reference
land
to
use.
land use
That's
a few
correct.
months ago, just so that the public hears and understands why Mr. Gailey is now standing before
I
you.
did introduce him as our land use attorney, but I didn't go further than that. Okay.
Like I said, the resolution was in your package, it's slightly revised. What the resolution, what the town board resolves in that resolution is to adopt a positive declaration, which is a determination under the State Environmental Quality Review Act that the proposed action may have a significant adverse impact on the environment. The proposed action is for the consideration of amendments to the town's comprehensive plan with respect to the northeast Ramapo area, an update to the town's comprehensive plan of the existing conditions townwide, and then town code amendments that the board might adopt after adoption of the amendments to the comprehensive plan concerning northeast Ramapo. So that resolution issues that positive declaration, also approves the environmental assessment forms, approves the draft scoping outline and then sets a date for a public scoping session. There's blank lines in there for the date and time of that scoping session, so the board would set that date and time today. And the process, just briefly, is at that scoping session, members of the public or other agencies will have the opportunity to provide comment to the board on issues that they believe should be added to the draft scope or modified from the draft scope. And then after that scoping session, the board will adopt a final scoping outline. And what the scoping outline is essentially a summary or contents of what the board's draft generic environmental impact statement will contain to evaluate the proposed action. So I think I've said enough.
Questions from the board for Mr. Galley?
So I have a question as far as where we began the process, timeline as to where we are now, and approving this scoping public hearing, I guess it would be. Is there a outline of all the different items that are included in what the details or the recommendations that you put forward for this CEQA?
The draft scoping outline, and it's approximately 15 pages, that contains a fair amount of detail
Right.
as to what the draft generic environmental impact statement will contain.
Okay,
Certainly not as much detail as the impact statement itself will
Right.
have, but it provides a very good summary of
Right.
what the content of that will be.
okay. And we have that paperwork?
Yes, you have that there.
Okay,
You also have what's called an EF Part 3 narrative,
right,
and that's provides the basis for the board's determination of positive declaration.
okay.
For the public scoping session, what would be an advisable date in terms of how much time do we have to allow before the hearing?
There's no requirements in the secret regulations, but I would suggest, roughly 30 days from now.
Good.
What will be available to the public prior to the hearing, so the public will be prepared to come into this?
All of those documents you have will be available.
And I see the proposed resolution has a proposal, reference to written comments may be submitted to the town on the draft scoping outline. We would need to pick a date on that now, too, for a deadline, or would that be a date different than the public hearing date?
That could be the same date.
Okay.
Either the same date or after.
Or after, okay.
I think for now, just make it the same date.
Same date, we could always extend it if we need to at the public hearing. Ms. Montel?
We discussed because we were going to look to make the workshop and town board meeting the same Monday night, the 19th. That was a prior discussion, we were going to bring up, so you might want to schedule this one for that 19th.
We could do that.
Exceeds the 30-day period.
That's correct. I don't have my calendar, I want to make sure that's not the date I'm away.
The 19th of
August.
August
Yeah, want to make
is
sure.
the third Monday.
Right.
Thanks.
Is that
Oh,
gonna-
no, that's fine for me. That's good. Thank you. That works.
Is that going to be the meeting date in August?
That's what we talked about, yeah. Yeah, so we could put the public hearing on for that date, August 19th. I would propose 7 PM.
So are we going to do that tonight?
Everybody agreeable to August 19th at 7 PM? It's more than 30 days. It's Monday night. Anybody not agreeable to August 19th?
Okay, it's good, man. What time?
7 o'clock.
And this is the public hearing, right?
Right, the public scoping session.
Public scoping, right.
What-
This will be available to the public at when?
within a couple days. I want to take one last look at the documents and then it'll be available.
Make it available, very good. So the proposal is to move to, it's one resolution which would adopt the the positive declaration pursuant to SEQA, accept the draft scoping outline, and setting August 19th at 7 PM for the public scoping session. Comments may be mailed to the town or emailed to the town on or before August 19th. What is the email address for our plan? It's the Envision Ramapo email address. Do we have that? Right.
And then if we add another one specifically for the scoping,
We'll make that available.
we'll make that available.
Yeah, on your website, there's an Envision Ramapo link.
So the question I have is, before the August 19th date, we should be very familiar with, we had a process already to get us here with the public, and we should be very familiar with the details of the EAF Part 3 to make a determination at the scoping session.
No,
to-
that determination's been made about the EAF Part
Right.
3. What
Right.
you really need to be familiar with is that narrative, that
Yes.
EAF Part 3 narrative.
Okay.
In addition, the draft scoping.
The draft, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, I said it backwards, but yeah, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
The EAF
Part 3,
form goes to
The
the,
form,
to
okay.
the SEQA that we're adopting
Right.
today.
Correct.
okay.
Supervisor, I think we can add that.
Later,
Email
the
address.
date, why don't we do that, adopt it
Yeah,
with
make
the
sure we get it
understanding
right
that the,
and-
whatever the email that we've designated will be it.
Right.
Very good. Then if there's no further questions for Mr. Gailey, I'll call for a motion to adopt a resolution for a
Motion.
positive declaration, acceptance of the outline, and setting of August 19th, 7 PM. Motion by Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded by Councilman Rossman. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Carried 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Gailey. So we'll ask that be planning at ny.gov. Very good. Very good. Then we'll go on to item H, under public hearing, setting the public hearing on the petition of Muncie Lumber Company and 171 North Pascack Road Corporation to amend the town comprehensive plan, amend the zoning map, and review the Pascack Ridge FEIS comments and supplemental information from the applicant.
Speak on it, or Mr. Stallman is here, or this is simply setting a public hearing.
If Mr. Stallman's here, maybe he could briefly outline it, and then we could move forward. My date that I was on. Right. August 13th. A possible date for a public hearing. That's correct. That's right.
As well as a break, so the 13th is a potential town board meeting? Do I hear that, or?
Well, it is, but I will not be here.
Okay.
that is,
I'm just saying, that maybe, I think Ben indicated that there's no specific notice requirement. I mean, it could be the 13th or the 19th, I mean, on the scoping session.
okay, right, no, I think 30 days was advisable, and we went beyond 30 days on the scoping session.
Mr. Stallman is on his way, he's finishing walking down the hall from the CDRC.
Very good. What I'm going to do this time, actually, because I'm not sure if any of the items we had on today were provided within 24 hours to the board, so I'm going to ask that we do a blanket waiver of our 24-hour rule for any items on the agenda that, to which it may apply, and including items that we've already decided. Call for a motion. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Rossman. Discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried 5-0.
One of the other items, Supervisor, would fall under that. I don't see on the agenda the item in reference to that Highview and Remsen. Was that supposed to be on?
That's what,
The sale of the small piece.
well, we did approve the appraisal for that particular piece of property.
And now we're supposed to approve the sale and surplus of that piece of property.
Well, if it would be subject to the price no less than the appraisal price, that would certainly be acceptable if that's the board's desire. But it's up to the board.
What's the background on this?
Yeah, I think Mr. Councilman Weissman will probably give you the details specifically.
I give you the background, but there was a question yesterday about the size of the, do we have the answer for that?
It was the whole piece, it was 25, it would be, I'll get Mr. Sullivan, while Mr. Stallman is here, I'll get Mr. Sullivan to come in and discuss it. I feel like it was on the agenda, I don't know if it was a computer glitch that dropped off.
Good morning, Mr. Stolman.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. We're discussing a potential public hearing date on the Pascack Ridge application. Would you be able to advise the board about the status of that and what the next step is for the board to undertake?
Are we talking about the FEIS?
FEIS.
And the zoning amendment?
Right, the
And the comp
application
plan
for the
change.
zone change as well.
So what would you like to know in particular?
The board, I'm not sure if all the board members are familiar with where the process is on that.
Okay.
We had a public hearing some time ago.
We had a public hearing on the DEIS.
Right.
And then there was a comment period on the DEIS, and that closed. And then the applicant was asked to provide an FEIS, a final environmental impact statement, which responded to the substantive comments raised with respect to the DEIS. And there were several iterations of that that we reviewed. And then a while back, I can't remember exactly what month it was, you, the town board, as lead agency, accepted the final environmental impact statement as satisfactory with respect to scope, content, and adequacy, and filed that FEIS with the interested and involved agencies, along with the notice of completion. So now my understanding is that you'd like to have a public hearing on the FEIS and some supplementary information, and you're entertaining the scheduling of a public hearing on the local law that would actually rezone this property to MR12, and a comprehensive plan amendment which would put this in a multifamily category, which would be consistent with the MR12 zoning, and make some text amendments to the comprehensive plan as well.
Very good.
And I believe you have a copy of the local law, proposed local law. You've got a copy of the draft comprehensive plan amendments, and you've got a copy of the FEIS, of course, which you accepted as complete. And there's some supplementary information that's recently been submitted to the town board, and it would be a public hearing on those three things, or four things. The FEIS with the supplementary information is one. Number two, the local law regarding the rezoning of the property to MR12. And the third would be the comp plan amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Stolman.
Sure.
Questions for Mr. Stolman about this?
No.
Very good. So it would be, we could do one public hearing for the amendment of the zoning map, amendment of the comp plan, and we could do it all with one public hearing. Would that be
And
correct?
on the FEIS.
And the FEI, and the, right, and the FEIS. Mhm. It could all be done on the same date.
Yes,
Very good. So let-
concurrently, so that everyone can talk about anything they want to during that public hearing.
Thank you. Okay, let's discuss dates. I know we had just briefly mentioned an August 13th date. I'm away. What about the 14th? I'll be back that Wednesday. 14th would be fine. Mr. Rossman's away.
No, I'm unavailable.
Not available.
How about the 19th? Don't we usually do it?
No, yeah.
That's too much. We
Yeah,
couldn't do
that-
both of them in the same day. Got the other
What about the 15th? That's a Thursday, I believe.
thing.
Everybody available on the 15th? Then why don't we pick a date of August 15th at 7 PM?
So these are this is going to be pretty lengthy.
What's with the 14th?
We can
Mr.
give,
Rossman's not available.
Enough notice that, could we possibly do it in the day as opposed to in the evening, since it's,
I'd
since we
rather
have
do it, no,
over
I think
30
it's,
days notice?
I think it's better to do it in the evening, yeah, it's. Yeah, well, we can move it up.
I
Yeah,
think we should, as early as possible, at least.
That's fine, we'll do 6 o'clock.
What day?
If we're all in agreement, August 15th. Everybody,
I have a problem with 6 o'clock.
I'm sorry, you're not available?
I could only come at 7.
Let's do 7 then. 7,
That's 8:15, 7, August 15th at 7 PM.
right. So then I'll call for a motion to set the public hearing on the amendment of the comprehensive plan, amendment of the zoning map, and review of the FEIS for August 15th at 7 PM. Anybody care to make the motion?
Moved.
Moved by Councilman Weissman, second Deputy Supervisor Charles. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Stolen.
Quite welcome.
Okay, let's go back to the remainder of the agenda. Ms. Montello, on the pools issue, do you have that information? Thank you. Do you have the pools fee information, Ms. Montello? If not, we'll go back to it.
So what Michelle is recommending is that there are 3 options for residents in the town. One is that they can get a resident card, which is $30, and they pay $4 each visit. Option B is they have a resident card, which is free, and they pay $10 each time they come. And option C, which is the one she's recommending for anybody outside that is an employee of any of those types of entities, is that they would pay an all-inclusive season pass, which is they would have to pay $120 for an adult or $400 for a family, which is up to 3 children, and then they don't pay a fee. So basically, whether they came or not, they would be paying this fee in order to use the pools. Non-resident rates, so that you know, we do not offer this annual pass, which is season pass, rather. And
What are our fees for non-resident?
$18 during the week for adults, or $20 on the weekends. So it would basically be that somebody would have to come, let's see, 10 times, 20 times to the pool as a non-resident rate for us to begin losing money, if they have to, our family that are coming.
Now, are you going to scale it for this year, given that the season started, or?
Completely up to the board.
We're about a
We're
month
about
into the season.
halfway into the season.
Yeah.
It's just going to get messy.
Tell you, the
Yeah.
numbers the letters that you've gotten from the first responders, they're always very grateful. There aren't that many of them.
No, very few people
But
take
there are
advantage of it, but-
certainly, it's certainly a goodwill of the board if you would agree to do it.
Why don't we
Thanks, Chester.
sell season passes to non-residents?
Why don't we? Because one of the concepts were specifically on weekends, when pools are crowded, to be sure that they were residents that availed themselves of the pools. So if somebody had no connection to the town, I'm not sure that the board is specifically looking to have the pools filled with outside residents. You know, versus having a non-resident who provides a service to the town in some way, first responder, a teacher, any other such, you know, and yeah, you're right, hospitals, we did do something once upon a time
Yeah.
when requested by Good Samaritan Hospital, and clearly the employees would sincerely appreciate the gesture.
I'm just, I could see the point of scaling it because we're halfway through the summer, but on the other hand, would that be unfair to any residents who bought a pass late? That opens the door, somebody says, well, I bought mine 3 weeks after it opened, so I want a 20% discount.
Adjustment,
Right, how do we draw the
So for
line?
next
It wasn't
year-
available.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't available.
Yeah,
I mean, the only thing that you could do is you could say, okay, you're gonna, the rate now for residents outside the town of Ramapo that qualify for
Is the-
this, for this year, the fee is 75% of what the rate is if you so chose. I mean, if you, unless you want to charge them 100%, that's up to the
I
town.
think the only fair thing to the people who've already bought is to charge 100. I can see the argument the other way, but I'd hate to have residents feel they're paying more.
It's up indoors.
It is, exactly.
So then it would
If
be
people really
100, so
want,
then
who
the
are
rate,
outside really want to use our facilities, then they
then
can
they'll pay a
the
little
rate.
bit more.
They're-
So
My
the,
bigger question is back to what I said earlier, how do we, who we offering it to, who we not offering it to?
So I think at this point, the board could simply take the first step and say that somebody would have to request it. So if the districts would like it, you could say it's available, and I think maybe
Have
it has to
districts
come from the
requested it?
district. No, that's what I was about to say to you.
So who has requested it?
Right now,
Individuals.
individuals, right now, individuals. So,
Teachers?
what?
Teachers?
They had, yes, teachers, multiple teachers and/or band leaders.
Right.
You know, they like, from what I asked the question very specifically, they have a very nice pool where they live. Why do they want to come to this particular pool? And they said one of the things is that all of the students that they are working with on a daily basis are here, and I found it quite interesting that they'd even want to spend additional time. Actually, I thought it was very
Yes.
nice that they wanted
You would
to,
think it'd be the other way
that they
around. They
wanted
wanna
to
get
spend
away.
their summer vacation interacting. So if the board so chooses, you could also
School,
say,
it's interesting because school is closed, they're not even here during.
right, but I guess they have interactions with each other. So the board could require that the request come from the district or any other entity that does a public service for the town, and put it back on this individual to say, the town is willing to do it, but we really need the request to come from the district.
I don't know what the rest of the board thinks. I'm content with simply stating that if somebody is a full-time employee of either the Suffern Central School, the Suffern School District, or the East Ramapo School District, that they would be eligible.
Right.
Leave it at that.
We
And-
can make it more simple than complicated.
And bear in mind that you already do it for the first responders.
Right, and that's
And
not
then-
changing.
That's the difference to me, because they're volunteers and they're doing work.
Yes.
Not always. They're not always volunteers.
Yeah, there are
They're not-
There are
paramedics
paid
that are
crews.
paid,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're paid crews, yeah. And the other question
What
that you
about
left.
nurses and doctors? And we're
What?
people that deliver meals, and nurses and doctors.
I'll explain to you, you know, the only difference that I saw in it when it was first asked to us is that they're a taxing authority. The district, you know, that's the only.
Extended to
Right.
to all nonprofit.
They're not profit. I mean, you can decide whatever you want. This was a request. You know, we felt that it wasn't something that should be decided on the level of a department head, that we wanted to bring it to the board, and that it's clearly the board's decision. I really doubt there's going to be more than 5 or 10
Yeah.
of these a
I
year.
think you're right.
I'm comfortable offering the season pass to any nonprofit within the town, an employee of. I don't think we're talking about a lot of people. I just don't want to exclude.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
And what do you want to do about the town employees?
I think 100%. That would be
It would be improper not to.
Yeah,
100%.
Town
Employees are
employees
not
should
entitled, they should, they're not.
No, they're not.
I'm surprised,
I'm
we never
surprised
made
that they
that,
haven't
yeah.
had it all
So
along.
why don't we just sum up? We want to offer it to full-time school district employees of the school districts within the town, to employees of the town of Ramapo, and to full-time employees of not-for-profit organizations that are
Within-
within the town of Ramapo.
So you want to have it just say 501c3s?
Yeah.
Because I.
That would
They usually are.
cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the amount?
Whatever the.
Whatever,
the
this way you don't have to
resident rate is.
adjust the resolution every
Oh,
year.
Or
okay.
this is for the full
They're
season.
So this is
entitled,
just, the resolution just allows them to participate. We're not changing this.
No.
It
No.
limits,
Okay.
it limits them to only being able to purchase at the resident rate, however.
Right.
The
The
all-season
season pass.
pass. In other words, they would not be able to avail themselves
A resident.
of the resident
pass,
day
yeah.
rate.
Right.
That sounds
That's reasonable.
reasonable.
And this is for this
For
year.
now.
We could always
We can
Adjust
tweak
it
it for
next-
next
tweak it
year.
for next year, exactly. Great. Who wishes to make that motion?
I do.
Motion by Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded. Councilman Rossman, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0.
Thank
Very
you.
good. We expect to see more happy people at our pools.
And more revenue.
More revenue. Let's go on to item 8A, under boards and commissions, to appoint a member of the Commission on Ethics. As we all know, sadly, one of our members, Rabbi Jeffrey Trudler, passed away recently, and he had been a long-serving member of that commission. We need to replace him. We have actually reached out and spoken with Rabbi Eliezer Halberstam, who has expressed a willingness and interest to serve on the board. I think he'd be an excellent choice to follow in the footsteps of Jeff Trudler. And if there's no questions, I'd call for a motion to appoint Rabbi Halberstam. Motion by Councilman Rossman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Charles. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Does this
opposed?
bring us that we full now on that?
No, we're going to need one
No.
more, so we're still in the process of finding a candidate. So we have to check, yeah. So 5-0, Rabbi Halberstam is appointed to the Commission on Ethics. And I'll ask the town clerk to reach out to Rabbi Halberstam, let him know he's been appointed, and have him take whatever affirmation and he has to do to become a full member.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And then also under boards and commissions, under 8B, we received a letter of resignation from Jose Collazo, who has also been I believe, a longtime planning board member. Mr. Collazo has indicated that his other commitments have unfortunately made it difficult for him to fulfill the responsibilities of being on the board. He thanked us for giving him the opportunity to serve on the board, and said it was a pleasure to be part of it, and expressed his regret and appreciation. So at this time, I'll call for a motion to approve to accept the resignation of Mr. Collazo. Motions by Councilman Rossman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 5-0. I just want to make sure we covered everything, because we went a little bit out of order at
Highview.
points. Oh, Mr. Sullivan, thank you. Yes, Highview. Mr. Sullivan, if you could fill us in on the Highview property proposed sale.
Actually, it's,
Map, thank you.
we get handouts.
Good.
Thank
It's like
you.
school.
Right here, okay.
Thank you. It's
a map,
the corner of,
Map.
it's
Owner of Remsen
in
and
Highview.
Remsen and Highview on the Remsen side.
Got it.
The long piece, right?
Yeah, I know.
This long
Right.
piece.
Yep.
Originally, it was two lots. With the new mapping system, they merged it into one lot because they weren't using it as two lots. He's in the planning board. He wants to subdivide the lots. And instead of getting 22 different variances, he needs more square footage for this lot, merge into this lot.
So he's purchasing 15 feet.
He's going to purchase 25 by 175.
Why does it say 15? Is that a mistake? The 15 is a mistake.
Well, that was the original. That was the original what he wanted, but if he gets the extra
25
square
is to
footage-
this line?
Right. See, it was wider up the block on
I see, so
Remsen.
we'll still have the 50-foot right-of-way?
Right, we'll still have our 50-foot right-of-way. It's 100 feet along these roads here.
Right, I see that. But the 25 will come
Right,
to
will
this
come to
line.
the corner there.
I'm sorry, if you just show me, where's it coming from?
Yeah.
Where's ours?
All right, here's,
You see the
These
handwritten
two
law?
lots here,
Yeah.
this is the area. we're
Oh, I
selling.
see, it's right there.
And
Okay, I
it's
got it.
100-foot right away.
Right away, yeah, yeah.
But we'll still have the 50-foot right away.
Very good.
We'll still have the 50,
And it doesn't affect the,
What did the appraisal come in at?
$7 a square foot.
okay.
25 times 175.
Yep.
Who was the appraiser?
Math. Who was the appraiser? Do we know who the appraiser was? Was it
Yeah,
valuation?
some guy,
Scott
Sherwood,
Sherwood? Okay.
does the assessing.
Who's an MAI? Sherwood's an
Missing in
MAI.
action. Oh, that's MIA.
Yeah, we ordered it, not them.
Sometimes MAIs are MIA.
MIA.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe, as you know, the applicant came before us several times.
Yes.
The recommendation of the boards to come to the town to request it. It's of no use, no value to the town. It's actually probably a little bit more difficult for our plows to go through there. The way it is. And we want to get all of the surveys done.
I'm coming up with a number, and I don't know if my math is right, $91,875? I'm off?
It's 25 by one. It's 25 times 175.
I'm sorry,
Times
I made a mistake when I did the
30,
area.
31.
Got it. It should be a third of what I did. Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right. About, any further questions for Mr. Sullivan?
Just so that the town board is aware, something like this, city council does not need to go out for a public RFP. It's only one individual that can make use out of it.
Right.
Under,
Well, it has to go to the adjoining
law,
property.
you are allowed to do this.
And that wouldn't affect any issue on Remsen Avenue in terms of the width?
No.
Good.
We'd still have a 50-foot, right?
Right, right. We're still okay. All
If it
right.
was on the other side, I would have a conversation about a potential turning lane, but this side,
Yeah.
we don't need that.
Very good. Then I'll call for a motion to approve.
I would just like to add to that motion, I'm assuming that as far as this approval, he's going for a subdivision. Typically, by practice, we put sidewalks on both sides on all frontage of property. I would like to condition the sale to make sure that that's actually part of the approval. He's going to put sidewalks.
Sounds reasonable. Let's make that a condition.
Whatever our spec is, but.
And then actually reference to the public comment, we are doing a full review of sidewalks. We do funding from our state, federal legislators, in reference to some of these sidewalks. And we just met yesterday with our DPW department to come up with a short list plan for exactly the situation where something's been bought. What do we do if that's not going to be built in the next few years? And we come up with a plan to create a sidewalk.
Temporary sidewalk. Yeah. Very good. Then the resolution will amend to, we'll add the condition that the vendee install sidewalks on both sides of the, on both
On the entire frontage of the
frontage of the
property.
property.
I guess the other thing is, like, similar to what we discussed last time, the cost that we just had to invest into this property, we want to add into the sale as well.
You mean the appraisal cost?
Yeah.
Do we know how much the appraisal cost us? 15, okay. We could add it. Well, yeah.
I made the motion.
Motion by Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded Councilman Rossman. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried 5-0. Thank you. And I believe that concludes our business, unless there's any new business by any member. Then I'll call for a motion to adjourn or new business? Adjourn.
Madam Chief of Staff, are we going to bring the issue up on the sale, or that's not now? You mentioned before about the sale.
This was it, yeah.
Nothing else needs to be done.
No, we're covered. Motion by Councilman Rossman to adjourn, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Charles. All in favor? Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.